Go ahead.
Okay, welcome everybody to our presentation tonight. I am Patricia Deaton. I'm the president of the Red Lily Pond Association and a full-time resident of Craigville.
And I'm Doug Farquhar. I am not a full-time resident of Craigville, but vice president of the Red Lily Pond Project Board, and been active in working on weed vegetation removal from the lakes and in getting the dock replaced and working to try to implement the excellent programs that Patricia is leading us towards.
But I think of you as a full-time resident of Craigville. So tonight, what we're going to talk about and give you a brief presentation is the status of the construction projects that are going to restore the herring to Lake Elizabeth and Red Lily Pond. And these are namely the dam, the fish ladder, and 3 culverts. We're also going to talk about the efforts that the community has undertaken to clear the vegetation, the herring run, and the embankment from those areas. And then we're going to talk a bit about the commitments required from the community to proceed. And we'll invite you to ask questions at the end so that we will be able to have a good conversation with you at that point. So we're starting with really good news. The town of Barnstable has, in the last few months, approved $255,000 toward our projects. And they have funded the design and permitting of the dam and fish ladder and replacement of 3 culverts, part of this project that we'll be talking about, the replacement of 3 culverts, one under Lake Elizabeth, one under the causeway, and one at Sandy Lane by Birdland. These actions will meet, finally, our highest priorities, one of which is to restore Lake Elizabeth by building a replacement dam to raise the water levels to those that were present before the old dam broke. 2 have broken about 15 years ago. And the other priority is to bring spawning herring back into Lake Elizabeth, where there used to be many. Now there are only a few, but this is a historic herring run, and there's a lot of commitment both in Craigville and in the town of Barnstable to restoring that.
So why are herring so important? Basically, they're the bottom of the food chain. Actually, not the bottom of the food chain, but an important link in the food chain. And we used to have literally hundreds, maybe even thousands of these herring would spawn in the spring. They would migrate in the spring to spawn in the lake, in Lake Elizabeth and Red Lily Pond. And then their spawn and the mature adults would then go back out to sea in the late summer. There's a lot of herring runs on the Cape that continue to flourish. Ours died basically when the dams broke because the fish couldn't find their way up into the lake.
So we have even better news from what we've already shared with you, and that is that the town of Barnstable has signed, sealed, and delivered an agreement with the Natural Resources Conservation Service. And that agreement commits $625,000 to design, permit, and construct the fish ladder and the replacement of the 3 culverts that I mentioned earlier. NRCS is an agency of the Department of Agriculture, and the funding has come from the part of the infrastructure package proposed by President Biden and approved by Congress. So between the commitments of the town of Barnstable and the NRCS, we have $880,000, which we can use to complete most of this work.
So what is missing? What's missing is that the federal funds cannot be used to finance the permit or design of the dam. Those costs therefore have to be financed either by the town or private donations. And excuse me, it's a little hard to see in this on the slide here, but this is basically this slide that shows the diagram that shows what has to happen during constructions. And what they do is they build a temporary dam here. They have to pump the water around the dam into this dewatering place, they call it. It's basically a big bag where the water goes in and with the silt and everything, and then the water flows out. And then this is where they will construct the new dam right in here. The dam, the other projects are fully funded. The dam, we don't know whether it's fully funded. However, is this me? Yeah. However, the town project administrator, when we raised this concern, said, don't worry, the town is committed to getting this dam built as well. And so of the money that the town has already committed to the project, $125,000 is left after providing the federal match that could be used to construct the dam. And if the dam construction costs more than that, the town may need to come up with additional funds, or we may need to come up with our own contributions to form a public-private partnership. This slide goes sort of describes in a little bit more graphic detail exactly what where the money goes. So on the left, the fish ladder and the replacement of 3 culverts is fully funded for design and construction between the federal money of $625,000 and the town money of $130,000. For the design and rebuild of the dam, which obviously is upstream from the fish ladder and the replacement of the culverts, $125,000 can be used to construct the dam, and the remainder we have to decide where that money is going to come from. And I think this one's you.
No, it's.
Oh, it's me again? Yeah, you're right, it's me.
That's okay.
All right, so and just sort of going back into the history here, the Red Lily Pond project over the years was able to obtain enough contributions from people and revenue from fundraising operations that we were able to retain the engineers who prepared what's called the 75% plans, and to file a notice of intent to build the project, the dam and the fish ladder, with the Barnstable Conservation Commission. Notice of intent is basically an application for a permit. They were going to have a hearing about that in July of 2023, but just before that hearing, the town became aware that this federal money might be forthcoming, and the town advised us to postpone the hearing indefinitely on the request for a permit for the dam and fish ladder. Because the feds don't like to come in at the project at the end. They want to be involved in the design and permitting process from the beginning. However, because the engineering firm that we hired prepared these wonderful plans that were permit ready, it's very likely the same engineering firm that prepared these plans will be using the plan, preparing the plans also for the culverts, and will be funded by the town and federal money. So this is the final what the dam and fish ladder will look like. Here's the dam up here. Lake Elizabeth is up at the upper part of this diagram. And then there's the first set of boulders and pools as the water sort of trickles down. And the fish, when they come in, they'll be able to jump over these borders, these boulders, and then get up to the dam.
And here's what it looks like. And it gives you a new word in your vocabulary, riffle and pool. And this is a picture of a riffle and pool design on the Acushnet River. And ours, of course, will be smaller because we're not a river, we're a small stream. But this will be below the dam where the herring will spawn up through this, these areas through the boulders that are there, with a gentle flow rather than something more vigorous as comes from the dam when there's a lot of water running through. And again, we were going to have the dam construction, as Doug pointed out, will be the flow out of the stream, out of Lake Elizabeth, the stream flow has to be diverted during the period of the construction. And then the new construction will be able to restrict any flow under or around the dam, which is what has caused the problems in the past, why the dams have failed. So what are we asking you to do? We have several things that we need to have you do, and I hope you enjoy this picture on the side here, this video of people moving, actually cutting and moving Phragmites out of the stream. But we are asking that you continue your support when we have applications for notices of intent at the Barnstable Conservation Commission hearings. We will let you know when they are, but community support is very important to their decisions. We hope we all need to educate ourselves and the property owners who will be affected about the necessary easements. There'll be easements for construction, and then one location for access after the completion of the project. We also need, as a community, to commit to keeping the herring run open, removing those invasive plants for at least 50 years. And I am happy to say that Doug has already talked with his 5-year-old grandson, who has agreed to this, as I understand it.
Indeed.
And I believe, as I think you all will agree with me, that this is a community of long-lived families who care about these things, and generation by generation, the work will be picked up that's needed to keep the herring runs open and make sure this program is a success. And then potentially we may be asking you and other friends and neighbors and the wider community to financially contribute to the construction costs of the dam when we have more information on that.
So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is what has the Red Lily Pond Project Association and the community volunteers been doing in the meantime, in addition to working on getting these plans and getting the permit and the funding for the dam and fish ladder and the culverts. So one of the things that we've done, we did it in October of last year and July of this year, we manually removed tons, literally tons of vegetation from the ponds, which are overgrown at this point. And you can see that in this picture on the left, this is a composite of different drone photos that were taken before we did the clearance, and the red marks the area roughly where we did the removal. This is Lake Elizabeth Drive is along the left-hand side here. This is about 240 feet from the old dilapidated wooden dock in front of 109 Lake Elizabeth Drive up to the causeway, basically. And this is what it looked like. The second photo shows what it looked like after. Drone photos were taken immediately after the removal. And you can see there's quite a difference in terms of the vegetation that was removed. We've also been working on vista pruning, cutting of ecologically friendly cutting of trees, branches, and shrubs to improve the vistas primarily from Lake Elizabeth Drive over the lake. We've removed invasive species from the embankment as well. Quite recently, like last week, we replaced the old dilapidated wooden dock. This is a picture of the new dock with most of the volunteers who worked on that standing on the dock. This dock was not a project of Red Lily Pond, but it was supported by Red Lily Pond by generous contributions from other families in the community and by the CCOA and CCMA, the Craigville Cottage Owners Association and the Christian Camp Meeting Association. But that was, I think, quite successful. And those of you who haven't seen it yet, I hope you'll be pleased. I think it looks a lot better, and it's certainly a lot more safe than the dock that used to be there. We're still working on getting the funding for the stairs that lead down to that to replace the dilapidated stairs, but we hope that that will happen soon. We're also annually counting and participating in a Cape Cod-wide annual count of the number of herring who are spawning. Spawning may be the incorrect term. They're migrating into Lake Elizabeth to spawn.
That's right.
And the year before last, we saw 5 herring during our 36 or something observation periods, and this year we only saw 1. Obviously, the number of herring is diminishing since the dam has failed, and the herring are not there to come back. What else have we been doing? We removed Phragmites, an invasive plant species, from the herring run, which you saw in the earlier video. We're doing our best to raise public awareness of and support for the ponds, not only among residents of Craigville, but among our neighbors and the communities that walk through here or ride their bikes through here. One of the things that was really important is we prepared a long-range plan that's available on our website, and this is the cover of it pictured here on the right-hand side. And that to do that, we had the assistance of really one of the preeminent experts in Massachusetts in freshwater pond management, Ken Wagner, who teaches on the subject and wrote the book literally for the state Commonwealth of Massachusetts about maintenance of freshwater ponds in Massachusetts. So he's been quite helpful. We've worked with the other community associations to ensure that the dry wells are properly maintained. They hadn't been pumped out for a long time. We're trying to educate the public to stop fertilizing. Even organic fertilizers drain phosphorus and nitrogen into the ponds, which is devastating for the environment. It's okay to use compost or mulch, but chemical, even organic fertilizers don't help. The other thing we did was we prepared depth charts for the two. This is Red Lily Pond on the left and Lake Elizabeth on the right. using a volunteer who was a friend of a friend who came in and spent 2 days in these ponds with his fancy equipment and generated these maps, which were necessary for the permit applications.
So we have a lot going on, and we have a lot more we're going to do. Let Doug take a drink of water and I'll start this one and let him come back in. So our project team to work on with the town of Barnstable and the NCRS for the funding will consist of myself and Doug and Paul Schumacher, who lives right on, whose cottage is right on Red Lily Pond and is treasurer of Red Lily Pond Association. So we'll be working together to monitor and support the town in the permitting and the construction and communication and everything that we can possibly do. Our first meeting is scheduled in January of 2024. And then Doug, if you've got your
Okay,
voice back,
yeah, I
I'll
got
let
my
you talk
voice back.
about the benthic barrier.
So the picture in the bottom right-hand corner is what's called the benthic barrier. This is not at our lake, but we hope to put them in. And basically, it's like a big tarpaulin that has iron rebar that makes it sink down to the bottom. And what it does is it prevents, it kills the plants that are underneath it, and it prevents them from growing up back through. So our plan is that we will initially start with an area in Lake Elizabeth, the one that I showed earlier that we had cleared out, and we'll put a 240-foot long benthic barrier that's 10 feet wide to keep that passage open. And then we'll do something similar in Red Lily Pond where we cleared the vegetation as well in July. We're continuing to monitor the water quality in association with the Lake Ponds and Lakes group in Cape Cod. And then we're considering adding solar powered water recirculating devices that would float around in the lakes. And what they do is take the water from the bottom, circulate it in the air, create some turbulence, and that increases the dissolved oxygen levels at the bottoms of the ponds.
So we have provided a lot of information, and we know it's a lot to take in at one time, but it's wonderful news and great work that's happening. And we also appreciate everybody's participation who's assisted with this one way or another. And now is the time for hearing from you, your questions, your comments, your concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.